Hello and welcome.
GameSketch407.
Awesome!
If the previous GameSketch brought us to an artistic world full of light, wonderment, architectural beauty, and splendor in the sun, here we are going to a place without sun, a place where the moon is the only and deceitful light source. This episode is dedicated to Bloodborne, and GameSketch, for those who don't know, is my humble attempt of paying my artistic tribute to what I find to be the best and most artistic games.
I like that.
It's my way of trying to show my appreciation and also dwell more in these worlds, and I invite you to come along for this journey. As in the last episode, you might notice that we are actually going backwards in time.
Really?
This will hopefully intrigue you to enjoy the revelation that will happen later as you get to see the original game screenshot that I started from. Bloodborne, for those who don't know, is a game that explores a darker atmosphere. We still have the beautiful cathedrals and maybe the buildings, but everything is much more explorative of more the deeper fears of mankind.
Oh.
It is no coincidence that Bloodborne has often been associated with the works of H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh!
It never actually copies, but you can definitely see a lot of echoes.
Oh, wannabe hooba hooba.
Well, of course, the game itself is a fantastic masterpiece, and the artists and developers who worked on it have brought to life something truly spectacular. I think I invite you to also jump into the painting aspect of it, to try to forget a bit of that and just enjoy the painting as a painting, which, as I was saying in a previous episode, in my opinion, a painting is something that you experience as a viewer and you fill in the blanks, and that's something that makes it more interesting, in my opinion, than even a very detailed rendering or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
You might have noticed that I am pushing the colors quite far. This is, some might call a sacrilege, especially those who've played the game and know that it is mostly pretty much all happening in the night time, and colors are very desaturated, almost black and white. And so me trying to do that was sort of like me trying to push the envelope. I tried to make it feel special, like what would happen to Bloodborne if it was sort of like more colorful, while at the same time being dark. I tried to push colors in a way that there's color there's intensity in color, but also that it doesn't become too flowery, childish, so to speak.
Very nice.
I flipped the image because I remember the technique that I used to use a lot, which is inspired by old masters which were sort of using a mirror to trick their brain into seeing the things anew, and the thing works so well, it's scary. Like, I can end up liking something and I flip it and I hate it, and it takes a lot of time, and then I get used to the other one and then I hate the original. So that's what I was trying to do in flipping it, and to refresh in my brain, to get to see it from a different point, and hopefully in the process improve the overall end result.
This could turn out interesting.
Now, if you haven't played the game, you might assume that that's a very gamey thing to have a big creature, but it's not like that. That's exactly the surreal element about it, is that those creatures only come into visibility once you gain a certain insight. The game has a mechanic whereby you get insight, and I think on the first playthrough you don't even realize, but every time you see something, so to speak, supernatural, your insight meter goes up, and that insight then becomes a currency for something else. But the idea is that if you have a lot of insight, then, and here we go to some of the ideas that we encounter in some of the books of H.P. Lovecraft, a common recurrent theme of his is this idea that knowledge has a cost. And often the protagonists, his main characters often suffer from gaining knowledge about the supernatural element in these worlds.
Yo, that's not nice.
There are so many great video makers and YouTubers who have done such a great job. If you want to immerse yourself in a few hours of fantastic fiction and great storytelling, there are just search on YouTube Bloodborne and H.P. Lovecraft and you will find great videos. I will try to link in the description some of my favorites. we are getting closer to the original more desaturated look, and you can see sort of where I started from. Oh, and I'm gonna put back the interface elements. Surprise! We're again at that part of the show where I show you another game sketch, with the one which I invite you to guess. This game sketch I chose to contrast, to warm us up a bit. It's in a DLC of a game which itself is sort of rainy and dark and has like a dark fantasy element to it. However, the DLC, one of them, is full of sun and full of warmth. That just makes it very contrasty but also beautiful. It's like sort of full of sun warmth wine while keeping the serious atmosphere. Can you guess what it is?
Very cool.
And we're back. We are now doing the last finishing touches.
Truly.
As you see, I've added some canvas texture. In the final illustration, I actually ended up adding much more canvas because I felt that it added some micro detail. Again, I didn't use it everywhere, but I think it helps to fill in areas which are simpler, but it is good so they shouldn't be more loaded, but they need to show that something is happening there. Something that you might have noticed that I did there, which I'm kind of proud about, I managed to do like a graphic shape, like that red in front of the character, almost like framing the character. It's a bit bold, but I thought it was something interesting.
Very, very nice.
Here what I was trying to do is add a layer of atmosphere. I color picked from the color of the sky and sort of painted like a fog, and then deleted out the silhouette of the character in the foreground to push everything a bit more back. As you might guess, I am actually a huge fan of H.P. Lovecraft as an author. I think he taps into something very deep of the human nature. I actually recently finished listening to a huge volume of called the Omnibus collection, which is the first of 2 volumes comprising the complete fictional words of Howard Phillips Lovecraft.
Oh, Kamura!
In Lovecraft's universe is presented something, and I think this is very important because who knows, maybe it is like that. Maybe we are going through times that make more people think of some things that maybe they're not all in humanity's control. And the idea is that what if we discover in the big universe that we aren't the big shots we think we are? What if in fact we are like ants to the rest of the universe? And this kind of idea is intrinsic in many of H.P. Lovecraft's stories and shines through in Bloodborne too, as the moment when you have a high enough insight, you start to see things, but you realize those things have always been there. Suddenly you realize that maybe those big creatures have always been sitting on those cathedrals. They never did anything, but you just didn't see them. And this idea is, I think, philosophically and simply as an idea, sort of like goosebump giving, fascinating. Something that, I don't know, it's my secret little joy in this one. If you'll notice on the arm of the creature, there's like an explosion of a purple. I don't think that's anywhere in the game, but I just imagine there like a fog, like a gas, like a burning purple that sort of erupts from there occasionally. And that's how I imagine it. I hope that you are enjoying it and that you are somehow immersed and enjoying the atmosphere in the painting. Hey, I want to thank you very much for watching and jumping into this illustration with me and joining me in paying tribute to the amazing masterpiece that is Bloodborne, its universe, and of course the amazing works of H.P. Lovecraft and everything that he's left us. I like the colors between the tombstone and the ground, which is like an eruption of hot stones, and the theatrical green and things like that. It's almost to me like I could zoom my brain into that area itself and just sort of like see it as a frame in itself. Imagine what the story is for the character who's running on the side. Maybe there's a movie moment where something happened. Maybe he's a priest, maybe he's a traveler, maybe he's a friend of the main character. I invite you to travel with me into the painting, to imagine that you're standing there, either as the protagonist or like we are seeing him close, observing the scene. Imagine that floor on the ground, the stones being lit somehow, maybe a bit hot, and imagine that wall over there. See the trees, imagine how they're twisty and strange, and the light element Hey, I want to thank you very much for watching and jumping into this illustration with me and joining me in paying tribute to the amazing masterpiece that is Bloodborne, its universe, and of course the amazing works of H.P. Lovecraft and everything that he's left us. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you will join me the next time. I will try again to have another game sketch for you for next weekend, well, unless I make a voice entertainment, but probably a game sketch because I am having so much fun with these and I just love paying tributes to these amazing worlds.
Until next week. Bye.